So after a long time of waiting, as in 3 years of waiting, we have finally gotten the Nightmare Mode trailer, and I'll be explaining and analyzing everything you missed in the trailer. Obviously, I won't be pointing out the super obvious details. And with that, let's get to it. So at the start, it seems like the GTA has a spaceship and are patrolling the area to find Dr. Xenon's own spaceship. By the way, I predicted this like a year ago. But anyways, on the navigation screen, it shows all the systems of the GTA spaceship and them tracking Dr. Xenon. But we can also see the same Golden Predator statue that Xenon also had in her own base. Advisor also seems to have his own voice actor and not voiced by John again for the 100th time.
Where is her ship?
We then get to see Donald from Invincible and the XWM turret pilot working on finding Xenon. Then we get to see her base, and we see that she still has copies of her previous Eradicators/mechs. Here we get to see the 5 new Nightmare exclusive maps that are gonna be added, or maybe even more that we don't know about. And sadly, it appears that the GTA's gun mech is just going to be a map prop. But this could change, and I'll explain why later in the video. Next, we can see a walking animation for the War Machine, possibly being used for when it steps out of the factory pad. Then, in this shot, we can see a bunch of towers fighting in the gun map, and this green explosion is caused by an off-screen enemy, as we can only see a green ball of gas being thrown from somewhere else. Next, we have the Jaeger mini-boss, which will be spammed a lot, as well as a lot of older enemies being reused if you didn't notice it already, like the Revive Monster, X-Juggernaut, Avatars, or Grumbles. We can also see that on the factory, for the War Machine, there is a Forge Industries logo, which we already knew that they manufactured them from this leak before. Then, another interesting thing to mention is that the War Machine actually stops in place while it's shooting, so I can see why this spawner tower would be very useful. Next up, if you look closely up here, we can actually see a part of the map being interactable, which is being used as a weapon. Now, going back to what I said earlier, this could mean that the gun mech could actually shoot from its giant cannon. So maybe all these new maps have these different kinds of attributes, just like how this Battlefield map has 2 GTA turrets that could possibly be activated. Then we get to see Dr. Xenon's drop pod, and it seems like a core mechanic in this mode will be Dr. Xenon dropping enemies from the sky/her spaceship. Next, we get to see an enemy tank over here that appears to be Xenon themed. Then we have an Eradicator Mark II Plus dropping down from the sky, further signifying that enemies will fall from her spaceship. Then we finally get to see the Emperor in action, and it seems like he has a time stop/time slowdown ability, judging by the fire rate of the towers. Then we get to see a Calamity entity, and who knows what this could be. It could be Dr. Mallory, but it's too difficult to tell. The enemy also has a scythe, which could also mean that it could be an enemy from the past like Grimm for an example. And lastly, we have Alpha Predator chucking a bomb at Refractor. Anyways, that's all for this video. Leave down below the things I've missed and your overall thoughts on the trailer. See ya!